Welcome to the OpenJ9 community call for January 10th. If you haven't already, please remember to add your name and company affiliation to the minutes. If anyone has anything urgent to bring up, feel free to speak up, interrupt me. Otherwise, I'll just keep going. No lightning talks today, but if you want to organize a lightning talk, feel free to speak to myself or Dan or add something to the minutes. So we'll open up the user raised issues. Yeah, there was something opened a couple of hours ago. That one's been assigned out. We have a couple of crashes and verify error problems. Cheng is looking at those. Question last week about why does OpenJ9 require less memory footprint than Hotspot? I believe there was one answer added there, but if anyone else has some answers, feel free to add them to that issue. Inconsistent output compared to others 2 weeks ago. That one was a bit weird. They're generating bytecodes from ASM, from Java assembler, and they're using shorts, but they're not converting the short to an int, and Hotspot and OpenJ9 have different behaviors. I'm not sure if anyone's in the wrong there. The person's going to take that to Hotspot, and we'll see what Hotspot says. I think that's about it. Does anybody want to talk about any of the user-raised issues? So the 035 release, hopefully we'll be getting the AArch64 Mac builds delivered soon. I believe we've mostly agreed to deliver them, so just waiting for one more person to sign off. So maybe today or tomorrow we'll have those out there. The 036 release, I've created 2 issues and added them to the milestone plan. There's some regressions that were found. Some of them are in performance, and I think there's 4 issues for performance on various benchmarks and various platforms, but I suspect they're all the same issue, so we're just waiting for triage to identify what caused that regression. And there's also a RAS test that's failing, and same thing, we're waiting for triage to figure out what caused the regression. I'm not certain that these problems are going to affect OpenJ9 builds, but until we figure out what's caused the regressions, I think we should wait. So I don't expect to be creating release builds until we figure these things out. So meanwhile, we were supposed to have done milestone 2 builds before Christmas, but that didn't happen. There was a problem. One of the OpenJDK updates introduced a problem with the builds and we couldn't build anymore. But that was fixed last week. So I think Adam kicked off some builds this morning for at least JDK 11. And we'll see what those results are like and hopefully run the other versions as well. And then next week, 17th, we'll get the updates from OpenJDK when we can integrate those and start new builds to make sure they're not going to cause any problems and go from there depending on those 2 issues that are in the milestone plan. Okay, so that brings us, I think we could skip 20 for now and head right to 19. Is Jack on the call? Yeah, Jack. Do you have a status for us on Java 19 for Lou?
Uh, Hi Pete. So I've just come back from vacation this week. Still catching up on my emails. From what I've been updated so far, I a lot of the work have been assigned out and just pending response. I'm waiting for a PR review from J team on the memory scanning for stacks related to continuations that is currently under review by Daryl. I'm waiting for feedback before I proceed to either merge that or make changes. We're also looking at a few other issues related to VMs that have to do with how the particular work is being done. Uh, so there are a few that are in the incubator test cycle that are not important to be fixed in this release, so we're looking to move that out. But yeah, I think that's it. Is Daryl on the call?
Yeah, I don't really have any updates, just getting back myself, collecting status on these things. But yeah, I mean, we have 8 issues against the JIT. I think they've been assigned out, and we just need to make some progress on those in the next week to move things forward.
Okay. Does anyone have any other comments about Loom related Java 19 things?
I can comment from GC side. So there are 3 known issues in the moment. One of them not necessarily in GC when we are trying to remove virtual threads list, continuation list from GC. Now it's in mode with comparison with another list which VM has. So there is discrepancy. So from our point of view, it should be released, but it is not. So it's one issue. Second issue, scavenger back out, something wrong there. And now it's kind of higher priority from development point of view, Lean working on it. And another one, something still be wrong in concurrent scavenger. So there are 3 issues.
When I did the stats earlier today, I only found one issue in the milestone that was tagged GC. Should there be other issues that are tagged GC?
I'm not sure, do we have items or not? So last 2 related with scavenger we discussed yesterday. I'm not sure. I know Alex discovered it in his local testing. So I'm not sure, do we have items or not, but we should have, yeah.
Yeah, that would be great if you could create an item if there's one missing, so we're tracking what needs to be done in the milestone.
Yes, sure.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Dan, did you have any questions?
The question is sort of a combined question between Java 19 and 20. Sorry, I have a lot of background noise here, but are we on track to have 19 out before 20 needs to be shipped?
I'm not sure we can state that with any certainty at this time. I think we're still in the, week by week where we're working on all the issues we know of, and that ultimately is going to determine the progress there is going to determine when we're complete.
What is the last date what is our drop dead date for Java 19?
It would be in April. So I don't have the date off the top of my head. Let's say April 17th, whatever the Tuesday is, when we would
That's
have
the GA date.
So the April GA date is when we get security fixes.
18th.
Yeah, so the 18th of April is when we get the OpenJDK security fixes. But those security fixes would be for Java 20, not for Java 19. Java 19 would no longer be updated. So at that point, we would have, most likely have known security vulnerabilities against 19 and no fixes for them. So we could not ship after April 18th. Anytime up to then, but I think as we get closer to that date, or even as we get into March and OpenJDK is shipping Java 20, it becomes less desirable to put a Java 19 out, but to be discussed.
We tried building 20 yet?
Yeah,
I'm
we're
pretty sure
building-
20 was.
So we're building 20, but what we've done is we've held back the changes that break it. So you know how we have an acceptance build. So what happened was changes were released for some of the JEPs, and we can't build 20 anymore with those changes. So they're still in the staging branch, and we've turned off the acceptance build. So we're not merging in the latest JDK 20 changes. So basically Java 20 is stuck at the last place where it could actually build and run on with OpenJ9.
Yeah, I'm wondering though if we would be better. There's clearly a cutoff point where we need to transition from building 19 to building 20, or we're going to be perpetually behind. April seems too late to make that cutoff, especially since that's when the security vulnerabilities are shipped for 20. So security vulnerability fixes are shipped for 20. So I think we need to get something. We need to be on 20 before then.
Right, but that work can be ongoing as people are also working on these problems for 19. All these problems for 19 also have to be resolved before we can ever ship 20. So I guess we could ask Cheng if he started looking at the compile failures for JDK 20.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing so far. Just get started to compare the new API changes against the specification to see what we can do with the new changes in OpenJDK. Probably still need to update its code around in OpenJ9.
So how is that going? Have you just started that, or are you?
Oh, just started a while, and I need to get started to update the code later this week.
So does that answer your question?
Yeah,
It's in progress,
from
but
OpenJDK.
it's probably going to be a couple of weeks at least before we have the changes we need or stubs we need to compile the later JDK 20 code. And we'll be integrating newer levels of JDK 20 and even 21 in the headstream as soon as we can. And all fixes that go in for Java 19 will be put forward to 20 and 21 as well. If they'll either go into OpenJ9 or they'll go into extensions and be forward ported.
'20 goes out in March.
OpenJDK releases 20 in March, yes.
Would there be security things in there that?
No, there's no security fixes when Java 20 comes out in March. The security fixes come in April on the 18th for 20 and also 17 and 11 and 8. So yeah, I agree. There'll become a point as we get closer to March and April, where we won't want to deliver 19 anymore. But since we have to resolve all those problems anyways, even to ship 20, I'm not sure it changes the work that's being done. Dan's being quiet. I don't know if we lost you, Dan.
I guess to answer Dan's question on the chat. So for JDK 20, what we're looking at is, for the most part, another iteration on FFI and virtual threads. A lot of the other new things are either things we don't have to do anything for, so for record patterns, pattern matching, or they are incubators, so scoped values and structure concurrency. So I think that's the only positive sign from JDK 20.
Thanks, Toby. Sorry, I've been very quiet. It's very noisy where I am, so I haven't been trying to stay on mute.
So So Dan, it's noisy for you, but we can't hear the background noise. I think your computer's filtering it out.
Oh, okay, excellent. Yeah, so I agree we need to do the work, and it sounds like we're in a good place that there's not many new things coming in 20. I'm still concerned about the risk we have with structure concurrency and some of the other incubator pieces that are going to move forward. I'm wondering if we probably need more discussion on it, but we should be thinking about what that drop dead date is, at which point shipping a 19 no longer makes sense. Right? If we're going to ship 19 in March, I'm not sure it's useful. We would have been better off to skip it and move to 20. So there's some point where there's a tipping point there, assuming that we can get 20 out the door in a reasonable time frame.
I agree. I just don't think we need to decide it now. We can wait until February or March to decide. I mean, if we're ready in 3 weeks for 19, then we get it out there. And if we're not, we'll have to make that decision.
Are we doing
Agreed.
new milestone builds for 19?
Yes, when we're ready.
Okay.
Hopefully we're building it nightly and weekly. Jason, are you seeing regular builds for Java 19?
Actually, GTK 19 is still on schedule just weekly, and I think every other day doing a nightly build. So I think we talk about changing the schedule to the nightly, but I made the modification, probably got overwritten by because they are generated the job, so probably need some more change in the upstream.
What was the change you were trying to make?
Well, the schedule running GTK 19. Currently, I think they just, for example, there was no nightly build last night for GTK 19.
Yeah, so I think we were doing nightly every other day between 18 and
Yeah.
19. So now that 18's dead, we can do 19 every day, or we can, I think the plan was to replace 18 with 20. But if 20's not building yet, then we could do 19 every day. But yeah, that's a code change that needs to be made if you want to do it.
We can build 20, it's just not changing. It's stuck at something that's probably not far off from 19. So I don't know if there's much benefit in testing it yet until we start getting newer levels of 20.
But probably we want to run GTK 19 more often than currently.
I don't know how much of a headache is it to triage 19. Are there lots of failures? Or I know in the open source builds, pretty much all the failures related to 19 have gone away.
Yeah, right now it's getting much better now than it was before. So
If it's not going to be a triage nightmare, then yeah, let's run it every night.
yeah, I think we talking about this before the break. So yeah, definitely it's we should run it nightly, consider probably more change come in, easier to identify the regression.
So Adam, do you know what needs to happen? Can you work with Jason to get that change in?
Yep.
Great, thank you.
Oh, thanks.
Okay, so can we move on to Panama? Cheng?
As I said, there's not much updates in Java 19. We still have the two failures, JTRK failures. One of them is OpenJDK, IX. Another one is in Jet side, on Jet side, in terms of OpenJDK mess handler, Evo basic system, which is still investigation is still going. Not much update since last week.
And
Just yeah.
Panama is an incubator, correct?
In terms of Java 19, yeah, but
So are
19.
these
The first
issues-
first
Specify-
preview,
it's-
not
It's a preview, yeah.
is the
Oh,
preview.
it's a preview?
Yep.
Okay. So we do have to get these resolved.
Yep. Exactly.
All right. Does anyone have any other comments, questions? Does anyone have any updates about Adoptium? Or updates about machines?
Sure. Our Artifactory space is way down because we had holidays, I guess. So that's good. We do have a terabyte sitting there waiting for us to allocate. But I have to work with the OSU folks to figure that out. So that gives us 2T instead of 1T. So that'll be good.
I don't know why the holidays, like I didn't turn off any builds. All the builds ran over the holidays.
I guess PR builds? I don't know.
Yeah, there'd be fewer PR builds for sure. That could have been had older builds that had crashes and now they've all gone away.
Maybe.
That plus the PR builds.
Yeah, we're done. 49% is significantly less. So, yeah. The Windows machines we added into the pool, well, we switched over before the break, and then we ended up re-enabling the old ones again because the new ones were so slow. So we'll have to follow up on those to make sure that they have enough CPU and see if we need to get just more machines or what.
Yeah, do we have hope of getting them to be faster?
We can see if more CPU will do it. I'm
Did we create them
skeptical.
differently than the original Windows?
Some are a different type of infrastructure. Some are the same. Some are in a different geography than the others. So I'll have to look at them and see. I don't think it doesn't look promising, but we'll see.
And they don't seem completely reliable. I think I still saw a build failure, 1 or 2 build failures, and some of the tests seem to fail because they can't find classes, which I assume is like a disk problem similar to the disk problem we were having when building, where it just can't find something.
Interesting. Okay.
So I opened issues at OpenJ9 for anything that I saw and tagged at least Violetta, maybe you as well.
Other than that, the Sense 6 we disabled because they don't run the cryo tests. So we can either rebuild them with newer OSs, or we could put an exclude label on the test pipeline to say don't run on Sense 6, because I don't think 8 requires cryo yet, but maybe that's just a unnecessary temporary hack.
And we can ask Toby.
Yeah, so I'm in favor of the latter option. It does require a bit of work in the AQA test repo to recognize machine labels, but I think that's probably a better solution long term if we have finer grain control of what we can exclude in terms of machines.
So we could easily add it on the pipeline side to say to the tests don't run on Sense 6, which we already do for like 17 plus. But then to do what you're doing, that's more work, where we either separate out the tests into a different bucket or have the test smarter to recognize.
So is that the plan, Toby? Is to take these cryo tests, move them into a separate bucket, and then have them run on machines that aren't Sense 6?
No, so I think what Lan suggested was that we would in the playlist file there's platform requirements, and we would say not Sense 6, and for existing tests it already recognizes platform requirements. For example, if you say not P Linux, it doesn't put it on P Linux. So my interpretation of that was that we would add that to the CRU test, and it just wouldn't target Sense 6 machines.
So you realize that means you could go for some extended period of time where you're not getting any cryo testing.
My understanding is that it would look for.
No, sorry, it's not gonna look for. It will just say if this machine is not Sense6, then it will not. It will skip. So it's not gonna. Because by the time we land on the machine, the test will not have ability to jump to another machine.
Okay, sorry, I misunderstood that then. Okay, so in that case, it might make more sense to separate out the CRU tests.
So I'm wondering how important it is to be testing on Sense6. I mean, in terms of machines, I disabled all the Sense6 machines and it didn't seem to have any effect on our builds. Like I didn't notice any delays or anything. We're still building on Sense6, so we can still run there. I don't know if we ever find any Sense6 problems.
Why do we need to run on Sense6?
It's just historic.
Yeah, but I mean, it's long out of service, is it not?
It is long out of service.
So
Yeah,
we wouldn't
technically we
support
shouldn't have
any,
the machines around.
Technically, we should have
any
dropped it.
user that reported a problem on Sense6, would we?
Well, it depends. Yes, if they crash in OpenJ9 and it's an OpenJ9 problem, it doesn't matter what OS they're running on. If they're having some sort of issue with Sense6 itself, yeah, they're not going to get any support for that.
No,
And
why
also,
do we? What's the value for us in saying we support Sense6?
I think we suspect that there has been people out there still using it, and if we changed the way we build so that we can't run on Sense6 anymore, then that's going to break some people, but we don't really know. We rarely change how we build things. If we start building something on certain platforms, we just stick with it for the lifetime. So unfortunately, Java 8 has a much longer lifetime than we expected. So we've moved the newer versions like 17 and up no longer build on Sense6 and can no longer run there. But like what you're saying, Keith, is kind of what I'm getting at. It's like, I don't think we need to test on Sense6. We could just take those Sense6 machines and make them Sense7 and do all our testing on Sense7 and above and continue to build on Sense6 for whatever value that has for somebody.
Okay, I mean, if we say we support Sense6 and then don't test on it, it's kind of an empty support statement, I think, and so I don't see a lot of value there. And I don't know that there's a compelling argument to be made that saying like, well, users should continue to be able to run on Sense6 even though that's long out of support.
I'm
If
happy.
people want to do silly things, we can't stop them. But
I'm happy to remove the support statement. I'm more reluctant to change how we build.
Well, I think maybe, we should maybe start with removing the support statement, and then, in a year's time, we say, well, we haven't supported it for a year, so like, okay, now we're going to just stop because there's a cost to us. Not just this discussion about it, but I mean, there's a cost to us to have the different machines around and have things be able to build one place and test another place and so on, right?
Well,
it's not free to say we support Sense6 or to, if we stop saying it, it's still not free for us to pretend like we're going to deal with it.
It's fairly free for us to build on it. It's done in a Docker container. So I don't know that we require a lot of support to keep that going. And we get Adoptium also builds and supports on Sense6. So I think we may get some support through Adoptium.
Okay. I don't know. It's unfortunate that we don't have the data that says how many people are actually using our stuff on Sense6 to know how important it is.
Well, I agree that would be a good step is to remove the support, make an announcement in our release notes and see if anyone complains. I suspect people won't complain unless we actually change the build and they weren't able to run anymore.
This is really more of an IBM problem than an OpenJ9 problem, though, right?
Why?
Because IBM is the one who puts out the binaries, so it's really OpenJ9 could remove support, but IBM has to make the decision as well if they're going to do it.
True. Did we come to a decision about the Cryo testing? Actually, I had one more question. We're planning to enable Cryo for JDK 8, Toby?
No, there's there is no security support at this time for JDK8, and I'm not sure when we'll be able to get dedicated resources to work on that. So
the easiest thing then is to change the Java 11 test requirements to test on Sense 7 and above, and re-enable the Sense 6 machines, and the JDK 8 testing can continue to run on Sense 6.
Agree.
okay, yeah, we can do that, change them.
And then we'll make a statement in the release notes that we're dropping support for Sense 6 in a future release, maybe.
But so that support was only for JDK8. You said earlier that we didn't support Sense 6 for 11 and up anyway, right?
17 and up, we do support it for 11.
Okay.
Or I need to check the support statement. I think it's in the support statement that we support it for 11, but I'm not 100% sure.
Should be.
We do build it on Sense 6 for 11. Okay, well, I see we lost some people, so that might make the remaining part of the meeting pretty quick. I don't see Marius anymore, so I assume there's no JIT server update, no microJIT update. Toby, did you want to say anything about CRIU?
Not too much else to mention. We've talked about the major change, just enabling it. We're working towards another EA release in February. Haven't decided what time in February yet. Before then, we would like to release summary container image on UBI 8 and 9 that contains CRU and has and the last year's December EA build, just to make sure we figured out our release mechanism come April. But yeah, those are the major things right now.
Can you update the meeting minutes to include some of that information and get rid of some of the old stuff?
Sure.
For the Mac M1, I guess we'll be looking at compressed ref support sometime in the future. We don't have Daryl, so I assume nobody has any information. And then for any other business, we did deliver the deprecation document. Is that what this is? Yes, so that's done. I think we can remove that. Did anyone have any other business? That's it for today. Thanks, everyone.